Welcome to the Women in Wealth podcast, brought to you by Regina McCann-Hess, a certified financial planner with over 2 decades of experience. This show is for professional women who want guidance in working towards their retirement vision in learning, building, planning, striving for your dreams, and putting the work in now so that you can pursue your financial independence. Hello, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and it's Social Security, no surprise. However, we're going to tilt it and talk about Social Security as it applies to divorced spousal benefits. So we have a couple of interesting tidbits that we thought we would share with you today, and hopefully it will be a couple fun facts that could help your situation if you're divorced. So first thing is that if you are divorced, you may qualify for Social Security benefits based on the earnings record of your ex-spouse, even if they've remarried or passed away. So there's 2 types of benefits potentially available to you: a spousal benefit and a survivor benefit. So we're going to go into both of them, talk about a little bit, drill down a little bit on both of them, and hopefully help clear up some, misnomers or some other fun facts that people may not know. We'll see as we go. So first of all, let's talk about spousal. So you're an ex-spouse, you're divorced, obviously, and the requirements to receive an ex-spouse's benefit is that you have to be at least 62 or older. You had to be married to this person, your ex-spouse, for at least 10 consecutive years. I think that's interesting the way they say it that way, but that's apparently the rule. You currently have to be unmarried, and your former spouse, the infamous ex-spouse, has to be at least 62 or disabled. Now, that ex-spouse does not need to have applied for their benefit for you to get your benefit, except for the caveat of the fact that your divorce was less than 2 years ago. So those are some fun facts, okay? Here's the other fun fact that a lot of people don't know. If you take a spousal benefit from either a current spouse or an ex-spouse, that does not impact their benefit one iota. A lot of people think it does. I know I've been in conversations where one side or the other said, oh, I don't want them taking it because it's going to impact me. It's going to hurt me. And the other side thinking they're not qualified, they're not allowed to have it. And it's all hogwash, right? So again, if you've been divorced, you're 62 years old or older, you were married to that person for 10 consecutive years, right? And you're currently unmarried, over 62 or disabled, you do have the ability to apply for a spousal benefit. And then we'll get into what those benefits will be in a little bit. Now, let's switch over to a survivor benefit. So, you're divorced, same situation. You're divorced, and then your former spouse passes away, right? So as a survivor, you need to be 60 years old or older. And again, 50 if you're disabled. You still have to qualify by that 10 consecutive years of being married. And then you do have to either be unmarried, or if you are remarried, you had to remarry after age 60. And again, that disabled, if you're 50, comes into play there. So as far as the former spouse, they must have qualified for the retirement or disability benefits for you to be able to claim them. So again, there are some benefits available to people that they may not know about. So first, let's talk about a divorced spouse benefit. One of the questions that we get a lot is, how long do I have to be married to receive a benefit off my ex-spouse? We talked about that a little bit. So in order to receive a benefit based on the earnings record of your ex-spouse, you had to be married for at least 10 consecutive years, and the divorce had to be finalized 2 years ago, okay? If the divorce was finalized less than 2 years ago, your ex-spouse must apply for their retirement benefit in order for you to get your spousal benefit. So that's the only time it comes into play, where they have to be taking the benefit or applied for the benefit for you to get it. Other than that, you could take it on your own. So now, if I receive a benefit off my ex-spouse, that's the next question, will it reduce their retirement benefit? I spoiled that surprise. Answer is no. If you receive a benefit off your ex-spouse, it does not reduce their retirement benefit. And if your ex-spouse has remarried, both you and the new spouse may be eligible for spousal and survivor benefits. That's a little crazy, right? So now the thing to keep in mind is the benefits paid to you from the ex-spouse's benefit will not affect the benefits of the new spouse. Specifically, how I would take that is Social Security could be paying benefits for you and another person based on that one ex-spouse's benefit. So a little bit of double dipping, but that's how it's set up. Think about Johnny Carson. How many wives did he have? Oh gosh, I just dated myself. He had a lot of wives. And I'm imagining that several of them were probably getting their portion of his benefit at the same time or however it worked, but also it did not impact his benefit when they did that. Another question that we see a lot is, does my ex-spouse need to apply for their retirement benefit for me to receive a benefit off of them? The answer is no. As long as your ex-spouse qualified for the Social Security retirement benefit under their earnings record and is at least 62 or older or deceased or receiving a disability benefit, you may be eligible for a benefit off your ex-spouse. Another question that we get a lot is, do I need to tell my ex-spouse if I'm receiving a benefit off of them? No, they don't need to know because it does not impact them and they will not be notified by the Social Security Administration. So you can rest assured that's not going to be an issue. As long as you have been divorced for at least 2 years, here's the qualifiers again, right? And you're at least 62 or 60 if your spouse passed away. And of course, we go back to the age 50 if you're disabled and your ex has passed away. You can provide the Social Security Administration proof that your marriage lasted at least 10 years, and Social Security Administration will determine whether or not you qualify for the benefit based on your former spouse. If so, you'll receive the greater of your retirement benefit or the spousal/survivor benefit off your spouse. So here, that brings me to another point, and this is also a thing that a lot of people assume is true and is really wrong. They assume that, okay, I'll get my benefit and I'll get my spousal benefit from him or her, depending on your situation. So I'm going to be able to double dip that way. I'll get two, and then they'll stack on each other. That's not how it works. So let's pretend for a second, just to explain it, let's pretend for a second that his benefit, and I'm picking the guy as the ex-spouse just because I'm a female and that's how I'm picking it. So the gentleman, his Social Security benefit is $4,000 a month. I like easy round numbers. And then your spousal benefit, assuming you took it at full retirement age and all that fun stuff and followed all the rules, we're going to assume it's a 50% benefit. So 50% of $4,000. This is why I like easy math. $2,000 would be the benefit. Now, let's say you were working at some point and your own benefit is $1,500 a month. Now, your benefit is $1,500 a month. Your spousal benefit would be $2,000 a month. So would you get $1,500 plus the $2,000? No. What would happen, technically how they do it is you get your $1,500 and then they true you up to half of his, which means essentially you get your $1,500, they add $500 to get you to that $2,000, and therefore you're getting the spousal benefit of the Social Security payment. So that's how it works. Not, you wouldn't be getting $1,500 plus the $2,000, so therefore you're getting $3,500. That is definitely not an option. As much as we would love it to be for some people, it doesn't work that way. Okay. All right. So what are my options if my ex-spouse is still here with us, still kicking, running around, doing things? So if your ex-spouse is alive, you may qualify for that spousal benefit as long as you're both age 62. Now, if you begin receiving those spousal benefits at your full retirement age, which could be 66 in a certain amount of months, or it could be 67, we'll talk about that in a second, you could receive up to 50% of your ex-spouse's full retirement account. And that goes back to that. His was $4,000. The spousal benefit might be $2,000 if you got the 50% of it. So if you begin receiving benefits, though, between age 62 and your full retirement age, that amount is not going to be 50%. it's going to be permanently reduced, and it's not going to increase once you do achieve that full retirement age. So let's talk about the full retirement age, right? So full retirement age for anybody who is looking to take Social Security as a benefit for themselves or a spousal benefit, the full retirement age can be depending on what year you were born. Anyone who was born between 1943 and 1954, your full retirement age is 66. If you were born between 1955 and 1959, it increases by 2 months for every year between those years. Do the math yourself. I don't feel like doing that math, but you can figure it out. Then, if you were born after in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. So it's easy. We don't have to do any math. Guess what? I was born in 1962. My full retirement age, 67. I was born in 1968. Full retirement age, 67. I was born in 1960. Full retirement age, 67. You get where I'm going, right? So it's easier for us people who don't like to do math in our heads, even though I love to do math. Just don't like to figure it out in my head. So when we talk about full retirement age, that's the guidelines for what age you can start receiving Social Security, where you would get either your own full benefit or 50% of your ex-spouse's benefit, or the full amount that you would be eligible for as far as the spousal benefit. Here's the thing. Even though we do have some people that would be 66 in a certain amount of months, just to make things easier, we're just going to assume everybody listening has a full retirement age of 67. Yes, we like easy, right? Hit the easy button. So that's just for descriptions. It just makes it a lot easier. And here's why we're going to do that, because if you call on taking the spousal benefit from your ex-spouse at 67, you essentially get 50% of their benefit. So, again, his benefit was $4,000. Your spousal benefit's going to be $2,000. And then for every year that you take it sooner than that, from 62 to 66, it's a lower amount. So instead of 50% at age 65, you're only going to get 41.7% of that benefit. And I have to look down because I did the math ahead of time. And that is going to be, instead of $2,000 a month, it's $1,668 a month, which is about $332 less per month. And that's going to give us a benefit of about a little over $20,000 a year. And that is about $4,000 less per year if you took it before 67. If you just waited 2 more years, you would have more money for each of those years. So let me go as early as you can take it at age 62, because there's really where you're going to see the wallop, right? Again, at 67, you get 50% of the benefit of the ex-spouse's benefit. But if you're 62, the first eligible age that you can take it, yeah, you can take it. However, your benefit goes from 50% to 32 and a half. It's a huge drastic difference. And let me put that in dollar terms. Okay. So I have to look down at my numbers again. 32.5% of $2,000 a month is $1,300 a month. So you're giving up $700 a month. And if that doesn't have an impact for you, multiply that by 12 for the year. So your yearly income, instead of $24,000 a year, if you waited to 67, your full income that year for this benefit is only $15,600, which is $8,400 less per year for the rest of your life. So you see why I get on my soapbox about not taking Social Security early. It has a huge impact on your pocketbook or your purse, whichever one you carry, and it's a permanent decrease. We talk about longevity. We talk about women, especially living longer than men, and we need more money. Here's one way that you can strategize your retirement income stream by waiting a few more years and turning that $1,300 a month into $2,000 a month. And like I said, that's $8,400 a year difference per year for the rest of your life. You multiply that by a bunch of years, that's really going to add up. While you can take your spousal benefit at 62 if, all the parameters are in place and you're following all the rules, it doesn't mean you should. You give up a lot by doing it early. early. I know people are probably tired of me talking about this, but I will tell you, I can't talk about it enough because so many people, a huge percentage of people still take this benefit at 62. I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? Unless you have a major health issue that you know you're not going to be here in 10 years, really poor planning. I'm going to stop beating the drum there. It has a lot of impacts. There we go. So some people will ask me, hey, can I start with one of the benefits and then switch to the other? So the option, and at one point you could. So the rules have changed. So right now, the option to start with a spousal benefit off your ex and switch to your own benefit was available only to people born on or before January 1st of 1954. So if you're born after that, this is not an option. But if you were born before January 1st of 1954, when you apply, the Social Security Administration will give you an amount that equals the greater of your retirement benefits or the spousal benefit off your ex-spouse. Now, if you can't receive your spousal benefit because your ex-spouse is not yet 62, you can start with your own retirement benefit. Then when your ex-spouse turns 62, you can receive a spousal benefit if that's greater. Now, however, remember this, if you're receiving a reduced benefit, like I said earlier, if you take it early, your spousal benefit will be reduced. So you've got to be careful about that. So let's shift and talk about survivor benefits for ex-spouses. One of the questions that I hear a lot is, can I receive a survivor benefit if my ex-spouse is deceased? He went to the big guy in the sky. So the answer is yes. You are eligible for a survivor benefit if you're age 60 or older and you're unmarried, or if you remarried after age 60. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there and you just got divorced and you're like 58 years old, do not get married and remarried. If you're thinking about it, do not get remarried until you're over 60 years old. So that's going to really impact your survivor benefit if you do. Reduced survivor benefit is available at age 60, and the survivor benefit maximizes at the widow's full retirement age or widower, depending. So if you're under full retirement age and working, there are also limits on how much you can earn. So we'll maybe touch on that too if we still have some time. Same thing here with the survivor benefit. If you delay it until your full retirement age, which again, we're just saying is 67 for ease, then you're going to get more in your pocket. And if you take it sooner, you're going to get less. So here's the difference between a spousal benefit and a survivor benefit. So remember, same situation, the spouse had a $4,000 benefit and you have the spousal benefit of $2,000. Now, your former spouse passes away. Now, if you're age 67 and that's when it happens, and you haven't been receiving benefits, now your survivor benefit is 100% of their benefits. So you go from $2,000 a month to $4,000 a month. So that's a big jump. Okay. So that's at 67. So I'm going to look down at my paper again because we're going to jump down to, let's say we did it at 64. So instead of $4,000 a month, you get 87.8% of that. I don't know where they came up with the 0.8, but they did. At age 64, instead of $4,000 a month, you bump up to $3,512 a month. And that is, again, if you were 67 at $4,000 a month, that's $48,000 a year versus at 64, that's $42,144 a year. That's $5,800 less. So again, we want to try to keep as much in your pocket as possible. So that's where we are. How about if you took it remember, if it's a survivor benefit, you can take it as early as age 60. So if you took the survivor benefit at age 60, you were eligible for 71.5% of their benefit. So 71.5% of their benefit is, instead of $4,000 a month at full retirement age, is $2,860 a month or $34,320 a year. Now that's $1,140 less per month and $13,680 less per year. again, for the rest of your life. It pays to wait. That's just the moral of the story. If you can wait, if there's a way to wait to turn that on till you're a little bit older, it pays you back in spades. So obviously, everybody has their own individual financial situations, and you may not be able to wait till age 67. However, if you can put it off even a couple of years, that amount that you get as that survivor benefit or the other benefit, it goes up each year, the amount that gets into your pocket, and it's a permanent increase. Just like if you take it early, it's a permanent decrease. So be very aware of that. And this is really good information to know, and not a lot of people pay attention to it. So another question is that can I receive the maximum survivor benefit even if I receive a reduced spousal or retirement benefit? Yes, even if you're receiving a reduced retirement or spousal benefit, you're still eligible for the maximum survivor benefit if you're at full retirement age or older when you apply for the survivor benefit. Now, after your ex-spouse passes away, you will receive the greater of your retirement benefit or the survivor benefit off of your spouse. Another question is, can I start my retirement benefit and then switch to the survivor benefit off my ex-spouse? And how about vice versa? In some cases, a surviving divorced spouse may start with one benefit and switch to another. So if you might be able to start with a reduced survivor benefit as early as age 60 and then switch to your own retirement benefit anytime between the ages of 62 and 70. You also may be able to start with your reduced retirement benefits as early as age 62 and then switch to the retirement survivor benefit at a later date. So if you're using one of these strategies, you do want to reach out to Social Security representative if you can receive one benefit and delay the other to increase its value. Otherwise, the Social Security Administration may give you the greater of the two benefits. Now, note that if you're under full retirement age, there may be limits on how much you can earn. It comes back with taxability or giving back the benefits. So you also want to reach out to the Social Security Administration for that as well. And it also sounds like a great podcast. I'll talk about Social Security and taxability on another podcast. But these are all really good tidbits of information that hopefully can help you. So working and Social Security benefits. What if I worked? If you worked, you generally receive the greater of your retirement benefit or benefit based on your ex-spouse's earnings record. Another question, can I receive a spousal or survivor benefit even if I never worked? Yes, that's the beauty of this thing, right? And it's really set to protect a spouse who hasn't worked. So even if you've never worked, you may be eligible to receive a spousal or survivor benefit off your ex-spouse. Another question, can I work and receive benefits at the same time? Now, an earnings limitation does apply before your full retirement age. What's that age again? Oh, 67 for our intents purposes. If you continue to work and you're under that full retirement age, which again, we're saying it's 67, but it might be 66 in a couple months. But if you earned more than $23,400 in 2025, your retirement benefit, as well as the spousal and survivor benefit off your ex-spouse, may be temporarily withheld. You do really want to consider that before you turn it on, because if you're working and you're taking that benefit, you're essentially going to give some of it back or maybe all of it back. It just depends. So after reaching your full retirement age, you can earn as much as you want without any withholding. So that is also something to keep in mind. Another question I get is, what if I worked in a government position that did not pay into Social Security and my ex-spouse worked in the private sector? Your spousal and survivor benefit could be reduced by 2/3 of your government pension. So that's another place where we're going to say you want to look into the Social Security Administration, make an appointment and go in and talk with them. And I will say, I've had a lot of clients have to go in to do something with Social Security office, and we've even called into the Social Security office together with some questions that we wanted to confirm. And a lot of people that we've reached and spoken to have been fantastic. They really did know their stuff, and they were really great in helping my clients. So I hope you have the same experience that we did. So let's just talk about the earnings limits for how much you can make and take Social Security benefits. So if you're, for this specific topic that we're talking about, if you're under full retirement age for the full year, if you can make up to $23,400, that's about $1,950 per month. Now, they will withhold $1 in benefits for every $2 in earnings above that limit. So you really need to be careful. Now, once you receive or reach your full retirement age during 2025, you can make up to $62,160 or $5,180 per month. So that's a decent amount, right? However, if you go beyond that, $1 in benefits are going to be withheld for every $3 above that limit. So we do want to just be aware of that before you make your decision. And with that, there's a couple other tidbits, about remarriages. Yes, you're still eligible for those benefits and your benefits not going to be reduced. Now, if you do remarry, are you going to be able to receive a spousal benefit off your new spouse? That's a good question. You're eligible for a spousal benefit off your new spouse if you're over 62 and your new spouse is receiving their retirement or disability benefit and you've been married to your new spouse for at least 1 year. Okay. So that's another good tidbit. So with that, I think the moral of the story here is do your homework, know what is eligible, what you're eligible for, what you're able to get or receive as a spousal benefit or a survivor benefit as far as a divorced person. And I want to thank you for joining me. I'm Regina McCann Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. You can follow me at forgewealth.com. On Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, it's Forge Wealth Management, and LinkedIn, I'm Regina McCann Hess. I do want to note that the information in the podcast is educational and general in nature, does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it's not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. So to determine which strategies or investments that may be suitable for you, you want to consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. Now, this material that I used today was provided by MFS Fund Distributors. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advice is offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. MFS Fund Distributors, Private Advisor Group, Forge Wealth Management are all separate entities from LPL Financial, and our show guests and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management. Thanks so much for listening today. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Women in Wealth podcast. You can watch the founder's video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at www.forgewealth.com. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from the LPL Financial. Our show guests and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management.